Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Tushita and welcome online. You've been here before, right? First time? Oh, welcome. So, welcome for this Vajrasattva purification practice using the 4 opponent powers to purify our negative karma. Before we do the practice itself, we will take a moment to arrive here in the meditation hall, and those who are at home to arrive in front of your device. So we can start by just taking a moment to feel the cushion or the chair on which we are sitting. You may want to join, so you can also use the text, or you can grab a text if you prefer to sit over there.
Can I just take the text?
Yeah, sure. I think someone is sitting there. Maybe take from this one, yeah. So let us take a moment to arrive in this space, on the cushion, on the chair, arrive in front of our devices at home. Let us do that by taking 3 slow and deep breaths. Inhaling deeply so that the stomach rises and falls every time we breathe in and out. As we breathe in, we try to refresh our attention. As we breathe out, we try to relax. Now for a few minutes we will engage in a calm abiding practice. Or shamatha in Sanskrit. So to do that, first we'll look at our body posture. Ideally we sit on the floor like most of us here. The best would be the full lotus posture. That means having both feet on top of the opposite leg. That might be a little bit challenging, so make sure you're sitting comfortably. Don't push your body. Don't make sure you can maintain this position during the small meditation we are about to do. So you can simply sit cross-legged or in a half lotus, or even the way they sit in Burma, which means one leg in front of the other. That is also a suitable posture. And if you're sitting on a chair, it's perfectly fine. Just make sure you're not leaning against the support of the chair, not leaning too much forward either. Both on the floor and on the chair, the important thing is for the body to be upright. You can imagine there is like a string pulling from the crown of your head, keeping your body upright, but at the same time, not stiff. We are relaxed. You can easily turn from left to right. The shoulders are even and relaxed. Traditionally, we place the hands in the concentration mudra, meaning the right hand on top of the left, the 2 thumbs are slightly touching, and this rests in our lap, allowing some space between our body and our arms. The neck is aligned in the continuation of the spine, so we can very gently tilt the head forward, not too much. If we are too much forward, then we'll have a tendency to fall asleep. Too much upward, so many thoughts will come, so we try to find a middle way, which is just to align the neck in the continuation of the spine. You can place your tongue just behind your upper teeth, towards the upper palate. This helps to reduce the production of saliva while you meditate. Finally, we don't meditate with the eyes completely closed. We leave them slightly opened to allow some light to enter. This helps to keep us alert. So this posture is known as the Buddha Vajrasattva 7-point meditation posture. And out of the 7 points, the most important is certainly for the body to be upright, keeping us alert and allowing for the subtle, winds in our body to circulate properly. So this is for the body. Now let us look at the meditation itself. What are we going to meditate on? So for this short practice, if this is new for you, what I would suggest is to use the breathing sensation at the entrance of the nostrils as an object. So not the body part as such, but the feeling, the sensation you have there as you breathe in and out. Perhaps as you breathe in, you can observe a little bit of a cooling sensation. As you breathe out, it's a little bit warmer. Try to focus on that single-pointedly with all your attention. Now, while we meditate, we tend to be distracted. And the 2 main ways we get distracted is with mental excitement or mental laxity. Mental excitement, basically we are distracted with thoughts, thinking what we are going to do this evening or something that happened today, something that's going to happen in a few days and so forth. And therefore we lose our object of meditation. We are not concentrated on our object of meditation, we are thinking about something else. The second way we tend to lose our object is with mental laxity or dullness or lethargy. We have this tendency to fall asleep. It's not the most interesting object in the universe, the breathing sensation at the entrance of the nostrils. So if we had a long day, for example, we might, start to sink and fall asleep, and therefore we also lose our object of meditation. We start daydreaming or start falling asleep. So now the good news is that there are 2 antidotes that we can use, and this is the whole point of this meditation, to counteract these distractions. The first antidote is called introspection. Introspection, you can imagine it is like an agent in the background of your mind that is checking, what is my mind doing? Is it meditating on my object of meditation? Is it focused on the breathing sensation at the entrance of the nostrils? Or is it distracted with thoughts or with lethargy? And the moment introspection notices that the mind is not focused on the object of meditation, then we make use of the second antidote. The second antidote is mindfulness, and the role of mindfulness is to bring the mind back onto the object of meditation. Whether it is distracted with thoughts or with lethargy, as soon as we notice with introspection, mindfulness brings the mind back and makes sure it remains there on the object of meditation. I always use the analogy. You can imagine if you have a pet dog at home, the dog runs away from home. Introspection will notice that the dog is gone. Mindfulness will bring the dog back home, and you can also imagine like tying him against a pillar so that he remains at home. It's a little bit similar to what we are trying to do with our mind. So let us try this for about 5 minutes. gently come out of the meditation. Now that we are hopefully a little bit more focused, let us begin our practice by looking at our motivation. Why did we all come here tonight, and why did we all join on Zoom for this session? So there are different levels of motivation, and we'll try to gradually go to the broader motivation to set our intention for this practice. So of course, when we talk about purifying negative karma, doing the Vajrasattva practice with the 4 opponent powers, the first motivation that comes to mind is that we all share the same aspiration, that we want happiness, we don't want to suffer. So of course, doing this practice is an opportunity to purify our negative karma, which means disabling that negative karma to ripe in the future. And then, negative experiences and negative actions we have done in the past, we don't want to experience the suffering result of those. We only want to experience happiness. We don't want to experience people lying to us, people stealing from us, or people killing us or harming us, and so forth. So this is like the main, perhaps the first motivation that comes to mind when we talk about purifying negative karma. So let us try to also think about not only our negative karma and our happiness and our wish not to experience suffering, but also to consider other beings who all equally want to be happy, don't want to suffer. So why do we have unpleasant experiences? Why do we have misery, sorrow, pain in our lives? It's precisely because of the negative karma we have accumulated in the past. Countless times, if we consider rebirth, we have engaged in actions such as killing, stealing, lying, deceiving, cheating, and so forth. Now, why do we actually engage in those kind of actions? At the very root, what happens is that we apprehend the world, we apprehend everything, including ourselves, others. We apprehend everything as having a very solid, concrete existence, a very objective, independent existence, as if things were existing in and of themselves, independently from anything else. And when it comes to ourselves, we have a very strong sense of I, a very solidly existing I, me. And because of that, we have the impression that this I, this me, is like the center of the universe. We have the impression that absolutely everything revolves around us. This is our point of view. Because of that, we feel that this very solidly, concretely existing I is more important than others. We want to cherish that I more than anything else. We want this I to be happy, we want this I to avoid suffering. But considering it more important than others, if we check, there's absolutely no valid reason for that. There's no logic behind that. If we check, if we analyze, absolutely everyone else wants to be happy, wants to avoid suffering. Not only that, I am only one, others are numberless. So because of this impression, all sorts of disturbing emotions arise in our minds, such as anger, desire, and excessive attachment, jealousy, pride, anxiety, depression, and so on and so forth. All kinds of emotions that are disturbing our minds. And because of those, they are the reason we actually engage in the negative actions we were talking before. Killing, stealing, and so on and so forth. So as long as we have these negative karmas, we are bound to experience. We are bound to have unpleasant experiences. Being sick, somebody lying to us, somebody stealing from us. We can see in the experience from this life, we are not always having pleasant sensations. Sometimes unfortunate events happen to us. And then we can also consider other persons. We can see quite evidently people living without a home, people suffering from acute sicknesses, people living in countries that are at war. Can you imagine the suffering there? We can also relate to the suffering of animals. We can, for example, think about what is going to happen to all the street dogs in Delhi NCR. We can think of the conditions of the animals that are raised for humans to eat, how they are treated, how they are living, in which conditions before they are sent to the slaughterhouse. Again and again, since countless samsaric rebirths, since beginningless time, since time immemorial, all sentient beings, we have been circling, taking rebirth again and again without any choice in the different realms of existence, such as animals and human beings and so forth. And in each of those rebirths, depending on the karmas we have accumulated in the past, all sorts of experience, pleasant, unpleasant, sometimes joy, sometimes pain. All this is dictated by those negative karmas and positive karmas that are even the pleasant experiences, the pleasant sensations we have, are a mere result of the positive actions we have accumulated, but still with this impression that everything exists very solidly, very inherently, intrinsically, objectively, independently from anything else. With this impression that we are the center of the universe and more important than others. So in that context, even the good actions we engage in, yes, they result in pleasant experiences, but within this conditioned existence, within this cyclic existence, or samsara in Sanskrit. Which means we don't have a choice. We cannot choose what is going to happen tonight, tomorrow. Are we going to have only pleasant sensations, or will unfortunate things happen and make us feel uncomfortable? We don't have control, we don't have a choice, and this lack of control is precisely what the misery of samsara is. So purifying the negative actions we have done in the past, as well as committing ourselves not to engage in such negative actions in the future, is like the first step we can take to stop the miseries, to engage in virtue, and gradually eliminate our mental defilements through wisdom, counteracting our disturbing emotions, down to the root of those, which is this, what we call in technical terms, self-grasping ignorance, this impression that everything exists inherently. This is like you can imagine everything we talked about is like a poisonous tree, and the root is that self-grasping ignorance that gives rise to this impression that we are the center of the universe, all the mental defilements, the negative karmas, and the suffering result of those negative karmas. So if we remove the root of that poisonous tree, the whole tree collapses. Now, how to remove that root is by introducing the exact opposite of that self-grasping ignorance, which is the wisdom that realizes the emptiness of objective existence of the self and all phenomena. That realizes that things don't exist as they appear, very solidly, very objectively, very independently from anything else. So then by realizing that again and again, by seeing reality as it is, gradually we can eliminate all our mental defilements, all our mental veils, and even the veils that separate us from the state of a fully enlightened, fully awakened Buddha. And the whole reason we want to do that, to become a Buddha, is not only for ourselves, but in order to achieve a state in which we can perfectly guide others, to establish them in happiness as well. Having reached the state of a Buddha also means having reached omniscience, knowing perfectly how to guide sentient beings. let us try to generate this motivation in our hearts to do this practice of Vajrasattva with the 4 opponent powers in order to become a fully awakened Buddha, so that we can be of benefit to all sentient beings. We can guide them unmistakably. And with this motivation, we can turn to the text. So I think here we don't have enough copies. Lavi, would you mind sharing with your neighbor? And I think you guys also have 2 texts. Would you mind passing one? Yeah. Everyone has a text, right? The booklet that says Vajrasattva practice. Everyone has it, right? Everyone has it, right? Yeah. Okay. Yes, that one. Yeah, yeah. So for those who are joining online, I will share it on the screen as well. Let me try again. Now that should work, hopefully. So we can turn to page number 5. And the practice starts with a visualization. So we can imagine, we can visualize that seated around us are all sentient beings, starting with our father on our right side, or the male, figure who took care of us when we were growing up. And our left side is our mother, or the female caregiver from our childhood. And visualize that the people who are disturbing your mind, or your so-called enemies, are seated in front of you. You can visualize all your female friends and family members next to your mother on your left, and your male friends and family members seated next to your father on your right side. And then also imagine all other sentient beings, all the so-called strangers. Imagine them all in a human form, surrounding you as vast, as far as you can visualize, as far as you can imagine. And imagine that you are guiding them into this practice. In the space in front of you, visualize the Buddha. There are different ways to do this. You can either visualize simply the only Buddha Shakyamuni, like this is the Buddha here under the photo frames, the historical Buddha, or here on the Tanka as well. So you can visualize him and imagine that he encompasses all the Buddhas, or you can do a more elaborate visualization with, again, Buddha Shakyamuni in the center, then the lineage Buddhas on both sides, the wisdom lineage with Arya Manjushri, and the method lineage with Arya Maitreya. Visualizing your kind teachers, such as His Holiness the Dalai Lama in front of Buddha Shakyamuni, all your teachers, all the masters of the past, such as Arya Nagarjuna, Bodhisattva Shantideva, and so forth. And as we recite the verse below, we think that we are guiding all the beings around us into this practice. So the first one is the first of the four opponent powers, the power of reliance, which is taking refuge and generating bodhicitta. We can read it once in English to familiarize ourselves with the meaning, and then we can chant it twice in Tibetan. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merits of generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. Sangye Chedan Soge Chognam La Janjo Bhardo Dagne Kyalsoiche Dagi Jinso Gibe Tognam Ki Jola Pentir Sangye Jupash Sangye Chedan Soge Chognam La Janjo Bhardo Dagne Kyalsoiche Dagi Jinso Gibe Soknam Gi Jola Penchir Sangye Jubash. Then on the next page, generating the second of the four opponent powers, the power of regret. Which is perhaps the most important of the four opponent powers. So first recall the definition of negative karma. The negative karma is any action that results in suffering, that results in an unpleasant experience, in misery, in pain. Generally, this is an action motivated by ignorance, attachment, or anger. Almost every action I do, 24 hours a day, is motivated by worldly concern, attached to the happiness of this life only. It has been like that from beginningless samsaric rebirth. You can contemplate the meaning, try to meditate on this to generate the power of regret within yourselves. So since beginningless time, it has been like that. Almost every action I do has been non-virtuous, has been a negative action. Since beginningless samsaric rebirths. And it is like this also in this life, from birth to death. Nearly every action I have created has been non-virtuous, the cause of suffering. Not only that, but I have also continuously been breaking my pratimoksha, bodhisattva, and tantric vows. Worst of all, I have created the heaviest of negative karmas in relation to my virtuous friends, by harming the holy bodies, disobeying their advice, disturbing their holy minds, having non-devotional thoughts, and giving rise to heresy and anger. Having all these negative imprints on my mind is unbearable. It is as if I have swallowed a lethal poison. Therefore, I must purify all these negative karmas immediately with the antidote of the four powers. So in this way, try to generate a strong feeling of regret in your mind, together with the awareness of the need to urgently purify your negative karmas. You can think of actions you have engaged in this life, perhaps as a child, killing insects or small animals, or harming small animals. Try to think in this life all the lies that you might have said, the things you might have stolen, the people you might have hurt with harsh words or divisive speech. And try to imagine that in countless past lives, so much more negativities were engaged in. Try to generate a sense of regret for all those. Not regret in the sense of feeling guilty, that doesn't really help us here, but a healthy sense of regret, meaning I have engaged in those actions in the past and I don't want to experience the suffering result in the future. regret in that sense. Many people my age or younger have died. It is a miracle that I'm actually still alive and have this incredible opportunity to purify my negative karmas. It is certain that death will come, but the time of death is totally uncertain. If I were to die right now, I would definitely be reborn in the lower realms. And because I could not practice in the lower realms, I could not meditate, I could not purify my mind, therefore I would remain there in the lower realms for countless eons. Therefore, I am unbelievably fortunate to be able to purify my negative karmas right now, without wasting even a second by doing this Vajrasattva meditation. But I am not practicing this Vajrasattva purification for myself alone. The purpose of my life is to free all hell beings, hungry ghosts, animals, human beings, asuras, suras, and intermediate state beings from all their suffering and its causes, and lead them to the peerless happiness of full awakening or enlightenment. In order to do this, I must first reach that state myself. I must achieve the state of a Buddha, the state of omniscience. Therefore, I must purify all my negative karmas immediately by doing this Vajrasattva practice. Now again, let us try to visualize as best as we can if you have a teacher, for example, if the Dalai Lama is your teacher, you can imagine that for this practice, he's appearing here on the top of your head in the form of Vajrasattva. So here at Tushita we have an image of Vajrasattva. So you can try to visualize him above the crown of your head, about 6 inches tall. His body made of a beautiful white light. He's seated on a beautiful lotus, on a moon disk on top of the lotus. His body is made of light, beautiful white light. He has one face and 2 arms. In his right hand he holds a Vajra, and in his left hand he holds a bell. Try to visualize as best as you can Vajrasattva above the crown of your head. And he is actually the manifestation of your teachers. He is the holy mind of all the Buddhas, the Dharmakaya. Out of unbearable compassion, encompassing all sentient beings, he is taking this aspect of Vajrasattva. He is taking this form to help us purify all our negative karmas. Now we will engage in the third of the 4 opponent powers, which is the power of remedy, the actual recitation of the mantra of Vajrasattva. We are on page 8. So try to keep as best as you can the visualization of Vajrasattva above the crown of your head. And imagine that at his heart there is a moon disk, on top of which stands a hum syllable that is encircled by the whole mantra, which is 100 syllables. So Vajrasattva above the crown of your head, body made of beautiful white light, about 6 inches tall. At his heart there is a moon disk. On top of the moon disk there is the hum syllable, which is surrounded by the 100 syllable mantra of Vajrasattva that we are about to recite. And as we recite this mantra, visualize that a powerful stream of white nectar flows from the hum and the mantra garland, entering the crown of your head and filling your entire body. As you recite the mantra, your body becomes entirely filled with this purifying white nectar. And what this purifying white nectar does is that it eliminates all negative karmas, obscurations, sicknesses, spirit harms, all mental veils, afflictions. All of these become completely removed. And as the mantra is in Sanskrit, I just want to perhaps read the English translation of the mantras, just so that you know what you're actually saying while you recite the mantra. So the translation is at the bottom of page 13. So basically the mantra is saying, you, Vajrasattva, have generated the holy mind of bodhicitta according to your samaya. Your holy mind is enriched with the simultaneously born holy action of liberating transmigratory beings from samsara. Whatever happiness and suffering, good and bad, happens to me, by my pleasing the holy mind, never give up on me and guide me. Please stabilize the realizations of the path and bhumis, including the happiness of the upper realms. Actualize all actions and the common and sublime realizations, and make the glory of the 5 wisdoms abide in my heart. So we can come back to page 8 for the mantra in Sanskrit. Trying as best as we can to maintain, as we are reciting, the visualization of Vajrasattva above the crown of our head, the mantra at his heart, and as we recite the mantra, the purifying nectar entering the crown of our head, filling our entire body and purifying our negative karmas and so forth. So we can chant the mantra together once, and then, because perhaps for some of you it is new, this mantra, so perhaps we'll take a bit more time to recite it, so we'll all recite it at our own pace, in silence. Just making sure there is at least some wind, not a sound, but at least some wind coming out as we recite the mantra. And we can do that for perhaps 15 minutes. Trying during the 15 minutes to maintain the visualization as best as we can and reciting the words at our own pace. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dveno Padita Ridho Me Bhava Sudoshayo Me Bhava Suposhayo Me Bhava Anuragdo Me Bhava Sarva Siddhi Me Prayacha Sarva Karma Sucha Me Chidam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajra Mame Munja Vajra Bhava Mahasamaya Sattva Ahom He. Om. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manubalaya Vajrasattva Venova Didarido Me Bhava Sudoshayo Me Bhava Suboshayo Me Bhava Anurakto Me Bhava Sarva Siddhi Me Prayacha Sarva Karma Suchame Chidam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajra Mame Muncha Vajra Bhava Maha Samaya Sarva Ahom Bim. So then we can read together at the in the middle of the page 8 after the mantra. Through ignorance and delusion, I have broken and generated my commitments. Guru, be my savior and refuge. Lord, holder of Vajra, endowed with great compassion, in you the foremost of beings I take refuge. And finally, we apply the fourth of the four opponent powers, the last one, which is the power of restraint. Basically, we are making a pledge or a commitment that in the future we will refrain from engaging in negative actions again. So we can try to make a realistic pledge to Vajrasattva above the crown of our heads. For example, a realistic pledge we can make is that for the rest of our lives we will not kill another human being. That is quite easy to fulfill, right? And for example, we can pledge that for the next, 10 minutes, we will not engage in killing insects or something like that if we have a tendency to do that. We can pledge that for the next also 10 minutes, we will not tell lies. We'll be here for the next 10 minutes, so normally it should be fine, should be doable. But of course, if it's easy for you not to lie, you can pledge for much longer than that. You can pledge also not to steal, and so on and so forth. All the negative actions we have taught about before, we can now pledge to Vajrasattva that in the future we'll not engage in them for a realistic time. So we can read together again at the bottom of page 8, and then towards the end you can make your individual pledge in your mind. Before Guru Vajrasattva, I vow never again to commit those negative actions from which I can easily abstain. I vow not to commit those negative actions from which I find it difficult to abstain, for and then we can turn to page 9. And imagine Vajrasattva above the crown of our heads is saying, child of the lineage, your negative karmas, obscurations, and broken and generated samayas have been completely purified. So try to get a conviction of that through this practice, our mental attitude, the visualizations that we have done, the mantra that we have recited, through this practice, all our negative karmas have been completely eliminated. Try to get to conviction in that. And see perhaps how lighter you feel with all these negative karmas removed. Then visualize that Vajrasattva above the crown of your head is really pleased with your practice and the pledge that you just have made. Imagine that he dissolves into light, and this light absorbs into you, to the crown of your head. And now your body, speech and mind become inseparably one with the holy body, speech and mind of Vajrasattva and all the Buddhas. For a moment, try to imagine what it would be like to have the body, speech and mind of a Buddha. A mind that is so vast, only concerned about the welfare of others, countless sentient beings. A mind that is so wise, perceiving the ultimate reality as well as the world in the way we conventionally perceive it. Being able to do whatever it takes to benefit others. And in this absorption, imagining your body, speech and mind are completely one with the body, speech and mind of Vajrasattva, let us meditate on emptiness for a little while. Emptiness is short for the emptiness of objective existence, of self and phenomena, emptiness of inherent existence, independent existence. Let us think that in emptiness there is no I. The I which is the creator of negative karma. In emptiness there is no action of creating negative karma. And there is also no negative karma created. Try to place your mind in that emptiness for a little while, looking at yourself and all phenomena as empty. They do not exist from their own side. With this awareness of emptiness, let us dedicate whatever good thoughts we had here tonight. In technical terms, we call these merits, they're like the fuel, for us to transform our minds in the future. And the positive potential that we are accumulating. Let us dedicate. We can read together at the bottom of page 9. We can again read once in English, the bold characters, and then we can also chant once in Tibetan. May the precious supreme bodhicitta, not yet born, arise. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. Janjusam Rinpoche. Ma ge ba nam ge gyaro ji ge ba nyam ba me ba yi go ne gong do be warai jo. And on page 10, we can read in English. First praying for the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, so that even though he's now showing the aspect of a 90 years old, may he live long so that he can continue to teach us the Dharma of Buddha Shakyamuni for a very long time. Incomparably kind and supreme Tenzin Gyatso, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, may you have a long life and all your wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Then we can read at the bottom of page 10 to seal the merits with emptiness, and then later we'll pray for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Due to all the past, present, and future merits collected by me, the numberless Buddhas and the numberless sentient beings, which are completely empty of existing from their own side, may I, who am completely empty of existing from my own side, achieve the state of Vajrasattva, which is completely empty of existing from its own side, and lead all sentient beings who are completely empty of existing from their own side to that state of Vajrasattva, which is completely empty of existing from its own side. By myself alone, who am completely empty of existing from my own side. Jambe bawe jida gemba dang kundu zambo de yan de je de da gengi de so da loi je gewa de da hamje rapto ngo du som shebe gewa hamje gi ngawa gang la cho du ngaba de da gi gewe zawa de gengyo zambo je rapto ngawa gi. Then we can turn to the golden booklet, the prayers for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. We'll also share online. So, I guess many of you are aware, but just in case I'll explain Lama Zopa Rinpoche that you see here with the golden hat, or on the right, together with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. He's actually the founder of this place, together with Lama Yeshe there on the left. In the 70s, they founded this place and many other Dharma centers, Buddhist centers around the world. They created an organization that is called the Foundation for the Preservation of the Mahayana Tradition. And Tushita is one of the about 130 centers, services and projects all around the world. So 2.5 almost years ago, Lama Zopa Rinpoche took the aspect of passing away. And you might have heard that in the Tibetan culture, there is this tradition of looking for the reincarnation of such enlightened masters. For example, His Holiness the Dalai Lama is known as the 14th Dalai Lama, the 14th reincarnation of the Dalai Lama. And then, so similarly, Lama Zopa Rinpoche is the reincarnation of the Laudo Lama, and now we are looking for the reincarnation of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. His Holiness actually indicated a few months back that Rinpoche is already reborn in Nepal, but now we still need to, accumulate the merits so that we can actually find the young child, and so that he might actually take the aspect of a teacher again. It depends on us. So this is why we continue to pray, and also recently His Holiness advised that we accumulate recitation of mantra that we'll do also afterwards, the other sheet. So we'll read the first prayer that is actually composed by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. His Holiness composed this prayer, just a few days after Rinpoche took the aspect of passing away, so that we can, recite. Peerless teacher, an assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratikya Buddhas, victorious low song father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now, holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings, through explanation and practice. You wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and from other living beings you suddenly departed to peace, what a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. So then we can turn to the other loose sheet, that is the Mixima mantra. So this is a very recent advice that His Holiness gave us, to chant this mantra, to create the causes for Lama Zopa Rinpoche to come back and for us to identify this reincarnation, and so that Rinpoche might again, teach and hopefully also lead the organization. When we chant this mantra, this prayer in Tibetan, we actually skip the third line, just for the tune. Mi me se vita che resi je me kiembe wa mo jame ya ganje so gen tong ba lo san ja be jabla se wa de me te che lo san ja be ja la se wa de me te che resi je me kiembe wan bo jambe yang je gebe tsu gen tong kaba lo san drabe jala su Finally, we can also dedicate whatever merits we have accumulated by doing this practice this evening, so that all the wars that are happening around the world immediately come to an end. May there be no new war. May there be no famine. May there be no epidemic. May there be no financial crisis. May there be no natural catastrophes and disasters of the elements. May peace and happiness prevail in everybody's hearts and lives. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Tomorrow we have an online session in the evening, the same time, 6:30 p.m. It's only online because the teacher is actually in France. He will teach the basics of debate. It's an introduction to debate. You might have seen, if you've been to Tibetan monasteries in Dharamshala or Kathmandu or in South India, you might have seen all the monks, engaging in a, they are talking about the debates in a quite a theatrical way, to deepen their understanding of what they are studying. So tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. online, only on Zoom, Christoph will introduce how to actually debate the teachings. And then every week we actually meet every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. To debate different topics, different teachings of the Buddha in that way. Then what I wanted to mention also, we just reopened after a almost 2.5 month summer break, and during which we took the opportunity to do some waterproofing renovations and so forth here. And at the beginning of the summer, we did an online fundraising campaign to gather the funds for that, as well as to offer 1 lakh rupees for the long life pujas that are happening for His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the occasion of his 90th birthday. And so we would like to thank all the people who contributed to that fundraiser. And we just recently received, for all those who have contributed, new books from the US. One is from Lama Yeshe that is called Clean Clear, and they are teachings about refuge, bodhicitta, and the nature of the mind, as well as photo book. Lama Zopa Rinpoche, one of the many ways he was benefiting others was by offering stuffed animals to others and writing mantras or different prayers on them. So here we have actually many photos of all those stuffed animals, as well as some explanations. So it's quite a nice thing to have. So if you have contributed to our fundraising campaign, please ask me or Purbu to get a copy of those 2 books. And if you have not, don't worry. We have also recently printed in Delhi those books from Lama Yeshe. It's actually 2 books into one. One is Becoming Your Own Therapist, and the second one is Make Your Mind an Ocean. So we have many, many copies of those. Please feel free to take a copy on your way in the staircase. There is a new bookshelf there with many of those. Please take 1 or more if you want to also give to your family and friends. Thank you so much and have a good night.